welcome back to The Chosen Life. Now, on The Chosen Life, we cover many different arenas. We've covered politics, sports, including wrestling, boxing. We've gone into religion. Today, we are going into Hollywood acting. His birth certificate may say Bernard Robichaud, but we know him as Cyrus. Cyrus, Bernard, welcome to The Chosen Life.
Thanks for having me, Jonathan. That's a pleasure.
I got to tell you, it's taken some time to put together some of our guests. When you say screw off, I got work to do, you mean it. It's I think this is our 10th rescheduling, and I'm based in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. You're over in LA, correct?
No, I'm in Carmel, actually, Pebble Beach.
Amazing. And how did you find your way over there? Did you relocate there recently or a few years ago?
I've been here almost 5 years now. I came out with my my wife at the time, and haven't looked back. It's been great.
So you're kind of taking full circle. So for those of us that know you as Cyrus, think of you as based in Canada, coming out from Nova Scotia. That wasn't the case. You actually started off American born, correct?
Yes, Boston. Yeah.
Boston. So from Boston, modeling, acting, comedian, writer, you wear a lot of hats. How did you find your way?
I've worn a couple. Yeah. I have worn a couple. There's no doubt. I'm not sure how good I was at any of them, but I guess it is what it is. Yeah.
Well, from Boston, how did you find your way to the East Coast, and how did they capture you to get you started on Trailer Park Boys?
Well, I grew up in Halifax. My dad moved back to Canada when I was a young boy. I grew up in Halifax. So we kept my dad we still have family there. I haven't seen them since my dad passed, maybe 14 years ago, but there's still family there in Boston.
Amazing.
And so I grew up there, and I don't think I ever really thought that there would be any reason at the time. When you're younger, it's always kind of cool to know that you're American and you have this, dual citizenship thing that, may or may not. I never thought I'd ever need it, to be honest with you. It really didn't come into play until 18. Initially I was have to make a decision at 21 back in the day, to make a decision to become an American or Canadian. And then selective service came in 1978, and amnesty for Vietnam draft dodgers came in from the United States, and that exempt anybody that had been draft dodgers and allowed them to come back home. And at that time, they brought in a law stating that anyone born in the United States would be an American citizen to the day they died, which from there forward meant that you had to register for selective service, and they could go into any country you lived in. There would be no more draft dodging. So I had to sign. For register for selective service. I still have the letter, and that at that point, then there was no changing that around anymore. There was I was an American and I was still Canadian by naturalization. So I was lucky.
And for those of us here, you'll always be Canadian for us. I think it before we were talking and before we went on the air, I mentioned that for around these parts in Ontario, and I think most of Canada, you're a cult hero, an idol to us as far as the Cyrus character and how that came to be on Trailer Park Boys. And you said that kind of blew your mind. Tell me a little more about that.
Well, I don't think that I've ever really thought of myself as that guy. I've always really just appreciated being able to take the words off paper and make them my own and create something that people appreciated. Cyrus, I think the character itself was, for the most part, people love to hate him. And, you know, as much as for the first few years, it was difficult. People would, when people didn't realize, a lot of people didn't realize that it wasn't that it wasn't real. it was like a reality TV, and I think a lot of people thought it, because of the way it was shot, that it was real. So the first few years, I dealt with a lot of people that, you know, would come up to me and call me names and picking on those guys, and I was like, I guess that was just a bit of a justification of what I brought to the character, but wasn't easy initially until people realized that it wasn't a real thing. I mean, you know, it was TV. So, you know, but I've never really thought of myself as that guy. Think it's great that I've been able to create something that that I brought a smile to some people's faces, and if that's what I get out of it, you know, that's all I need. You know, I've never watched the show. I've never watched anything I've ever been in. I don't. I can't. I've tried it. It doesn't really work for me. So, yeah, I go by whatever the people say. So the first few years, I got I got a lot of you know, nasty comments, and I still get those, you know, for people that, you know, have to kind of go on my social network pages and need me to tell them if I got work to do. Or I do get that a lot, you know, people you know, email me a lot and say, can you just tell me to off? And, you know, and sure, yeah. Up, you know. I don't know any better way to say it. I mean, you know, I like to be able to say it friendly.
But that was the catchphrase. That's how people knew it.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I figured people must ask you at least on a daily basis to quote it, and that's a catchphrase that stuck with everybody. But there was more to it than that, and there's a lot of questions that I had for you, because I think the internet is very sorely lacking in Cyrus information, and for the call classic of the show, and for people that quote you, they want to know this information. I've noticed in chat boards people saying, why don't we have this info? So today we're going to give it to them.
Okay.
So let's rock and roll. The Corvette. Now, I sent you a picture of a Corvette about 2 or 3 weeks ago when we were messaging each other. I said, is that the red Corvette? And you said, no, it doesn't have some words written across it.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
first of all, what is this? What is the story of that Corvette?
That was a friend of Rob Wells' car that we used in the series. He had brought it back from out west. Yeah, so that's all I know. It was an original 4-speed. Yeah, it was fun to drive. He had a lot of work to do to it. But yeah, that's basically the story behind that. It was just recently sold, I think, to a fan. I think he contacted me on Facebook, I think it was, and wanted me to. I think there's a point. I'm back in Halifax and Moncton in August for a couple of weeks, or a week and a half anyway, and then I'm going back to Toronto to see my daughter before I head back to California here. And yeah, he had talked to me about maybe signing it or getting a picture with me with it. So that may happen. And I'm just kind of flying by the seat of my pants when I go out there. I want to see my mom for my mom and some family before, because I don't know. I mean, it's been 4 years since I've been back there, since I've seen anybody. So, and God knows when I'll get back. Business is so crazy out here. It's hard to. I have to schedule a day off just to take a day off. I have to almost force myself because I kind of like being out there. So, but that's just the short of it. But that's the story on the Corvette, though. That's didn't start a lot of times when we first had it. I yelled vroom out the window a few times, and we would push it back down a driveway, and I would pop the clutch and get it going. So there were some moments there where they were a little messed up. So, but it was a very tricky little clutch, as I remember back then. Didn't have any air conditioning in it, so with the leather jacket on and shooting in the summer, it was a little rough sometimes because the T-tops didn't come off the first couple of seasons. So that wasn't much fun. I think we didn't get them off until maybe I don't know. I think it was season 4 or 5 when I finally was shooting and could get them off. But the first season they didn't come off. I don't think so.
Was it the same car used throughout all the tapings?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Buddy, I wish I knew that thing was available because I would be the proud owner of it right now. I had no idea that it was still around. You never know, because also I know the right across that nobody blew up at some point, so it's alive and well at least.
No, it never blew up. No, he put a lot of money into that car, into fixing it up, and I don't know. I mean, I haven't seen the interior, what it's done, or what he did with it finally, but I do know that he put a lot of money into it because it was an original 4-speed L82, and I don't think there were many of those. I think there were a lot of 76, 77 Corvettes out there in that, but I don't think there were many 4-speeds made, and I think that was the big deal of the car.
I think it was a 79, if I'm not mistaken.
No, I think it was a 77. I thought it was 70.
Okay.
Yeah. All the body styles were pretty close to that through those years anyway, 76 through 79, I think. So.
And
yeah.
any particular reason if they came up with the Corvette, or that was the cool car that was available at the time?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, it kind of makes sense that he might have a Corvette. That I'm sure that was part of the genius of Clattenburg putting the show together, and looking for something. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I was happy it was a Corvette and not Leahy's car or the Mobile or something.
I did find a Leahy Mobile, by the way, not that long ago. Those are also not that easy to find. They're out
No,
there.
I'm sure they're not. Yeah, no, those big Chryslers. Yeah, I'm sure that those are like those are like love boats.
But I think the Corvette,
a family of 10 in there.
But the Corvette suited Cyrus's character. Like, that was with the leather jacket, everything. The red Corvette, I think it was perfect. I think they did find the right car.
I think they probably could have used a Camaro too for, I suppose. But yeah, the Corvette was, it was nice to be. It was a nice bonus. Yeah.
Now, did you yourself during your lifetime ever own a Corvette, Camaro, that style car? Are you a sports car kind of guy?
I'm a sports car kind of guy, but I've never owned a Corvette. Never owned a Camaro. I've owned the only Chev sports car I had was a 96 Impala SS. They came out with the LT1 engine in it. I think it was like a Corvette engine that they put in those. I kept it for a couple years and then sold that, and then I went to a Cadillac STS. I had a couple of those. Those were kind of nice, luxurious, but and then I went to BMW and 335. Then I had 635 I convertible and or 650 and a 535 and an M6. And I had problems with the M6, and it was, I mean, you could watch the needle go down. You just had to drive that around a week, and gas, at the time, gas wasn't that bad down here.
Now it's atrocious.
So yeah, it's crazy right now, but at the time it was it wasn't that bad, but you could watch the needle go from full to empty in a few days. It was heavy on the gas. That was the V10 Lamborghini engine that they had in it. So yeah, nice car, a little bulky. I got rid of that, and I have an SL 550 Mercedes now, and I quite like that. I like it better than I like the M6, to be honest with you. Little sportier, a little lower to the ground. Twin turbo. think it's a 0 to 60 in 3.6 seconds or something ridiculous. It's a little land rocket, that's for sure. Yeah, it's fun to drive.
As you're saying the cars, I'm running through my mind. I'm like, okay, the Impala. Yes, I can see Cyrus driving that.
Yeah,
Then you're saying the STSs, could kind of see that but the BMWs and the Mercedes, I cannot see the Cyrus character driving those at all,
yeah. No,
unless it's stolen or something.
yeah, it's not an ST. Yeah, it's not a Cyrus kind of thing. I don't mind getting away from the Cyrus look so much. I
Yes.
mean, because people still recognize me even out here with a ball cap and a bib on while I'm caddying. So it's not something that's leaving me anytime soon. That's for sure. So if I can drive something else that's not going to be on it, I did try to get the personalized plate out here in California with Cyrus 1 on it for my car.
Yes.
And somebody in Los Angeles got it.
Wow. See,
Yeah.
people know. People
But it
know.
was funny. Yeah, it's funny. I went with one Cyrus. Just I haven't got it yet, but I thought, well, maybe it's just the one Cyrus, but just
Well, now people driving
there's
on
only one Cyrus, so I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, we're warning people. Then you're driving on the freeway, you see one Cyrus, see a Mercedes, you know who it is now.
Yeah.
It's him. So, eat, breathing, sleeping a character when you're in it. How much of that character really is you, and how much is it you playing a character, regardless of your own personality? Do you feel like, can you look at yourself
But
growing
I
up and
think
say, yeah,
I think when you're developing any character, there's always a good portion of you that's part of that, just because, I mean, you're creating it. You've only got yourself to kind of work with. So I don't think there's anything you can do about that. I think there's always going to be, no matter who you are, whoever the actor is, I think there's always going to be a portion of that character that you're taking from your own life experience in order to create it. So it's inevitable that that's going to happen as far as I'm concerned. So I don't know that get around how much Cyrus is. I don't know that he's me. I think that I created him from characters that I grew up with and experiences that I had, and maybe some of them is me from shit that I got into, but as I was growing up. But as a whole, I mean, I'm nothing like that guy.
I don't know how many people are, fortunately, in this society, but I think there's a little piece of all of us that are Cyrus, at the end of the day. There's that good angel and there's the devil, and
yeah, I think there's always going to be stuff like that too. I'm sure we've all gone through our trials and tribulations as we were growing up and trying to find ourselves. And I think Cyrus as a character is still, or as a being, is still trying to find himself in many ways. And just from trying to be Julian's friend at a dance, and I don't think he really knows where he is. He was a character that was all over the place in order, and some of that was the writing, of course, as well, and some of it was just because we were shooting something that looked like a reality TV series, and we needed to make it look like he was spending time in jail. So there's a lot of stuff, episodes jump from one spot to another, and it doesn't always jive, and so there's a lot going on there.
And that was a trailblazing show. I mean, considering that it started off in the East Coast, and you would think it'd be a Canadian hit, but people know it all over the States. Snoop Dogg was on it, so the show really exploded. But you were on there from first episode, season 1. So one of the questions that flows to my mind is, who came up with the Cyrus character? Where did it all originate from? Was that your brainchild?
That was cattle. That was Mike Clattenburg. He wasn't in the original movie, the original black and
Right.
white. Cyrus showed up in season 1, episode 1. Yeah.
Do you remember reading for the part and how that went?
Yeah.
Tell us about that, please.
Yeah. Got a call on a Friday evening after supper from Barry Dunn, and asked me if I could that he and Mike had a part they wanted me to read. There was no guarantees of me getting it, but Mike needed me to audition on a Saturday morning. Could I drive down from Moncton to Halifax Saturday morning and meet them and audition for the part? And I said sure. So that's what I did. Audition lasted probably, I don't know, half an hour. Mike put a camera on me and just chucked shit at me and yelled and screamed and was looking for reactions that I would get. And he wanted that sort of to be the case, that he and I were bitching at one another. And so that's what I gave him. I gave him my version, growing up in a tough neighborhood, which I did. So learned to handle myself while I was doing that. He sent it off to Alliance Atlantis. I got the call on the Monday from Barry in the afternoon saying I got the part.
That was fast.
It's a quick turnaround because Alliance Atlantis was looking at somebody else to play Cyrus at the time. And so I think the whole thing was for them to prove that they didn't need to go to Toronto or outside of the area in order to find somebody to play that character.
Amazing. And did you know Barry beforehand? Like, were you guys friends before all this?
Yeah, I've known Barry a long time. His wife Caitlin and I had done some work together. She was like she was kind of like a big sister to me for a long time while I was in the industry in Halifax and starting to grow, and so she was very good to me. And Barry, that's how I met Barry initially, through her. And I mean, I was 28, 29 at the time. So.
And then how soon after that did you guys start shooting?
I'm not exactly sure what the time frame was on that. It wasn't much long. It was about a month and a half out. That's usually the case, though. Many ways everything is set up before they start looking. I mean, main characters may be chosen by them, but second supporting roles, stuff like that, it's usually a month out before they start. I think it was probably about a month before went to camera.
And you're talking about Cyrus's character as far as him finding himself. There's the one speech that always sticks out where he talks about the relationship with his father.
Yeah.
And people must ask you all the time to repeat that one where he says safety always off. And my father gave it to me in grade 3, was it?
Grade 7.
Grade 7. And your reaction to that was?
Told me he was proud of me once. That's actually the true story, though. When we were ad-libbing all that, because that was all ad-lib.
Oh, really? I didn't know that part.
That's all ad-lib stuff. Mike was asking questions. It was an interview. That part, my dad telling me he was proud of me once. That's a true story. That happened. Not by giving me a gun, obviously, but
and not in grade 7, certainly. So we talk about the Corvette. There's every time you turn on that car, and you've heard this a million times, but we're going to talk about a million and one. That song that comes on, and it comes on always in the perfect cue. Who picked the song "I'm Old, You're Young" by Rick Jeffery?
Yeah, Mike Clattenburg. Mike's father was a accomplished musician, drummer. And Mike is too. Mike chose that. He knew the family, and Rick was Rick. I think Rick and his brother Jack. I think they both passed. So before, and yeah. So Mike contacted the family, and he used I don't know, that was the only track maybe he used. I don't know.
I think that was the only, and it was always in the same point in the song. No matter if you're getting into the car, coming in, driving in, it was always that one point of the song.
It's definitely the only song that he used for Cyrus. Whether or not it's the only song that he used that Rick, performed in his in any of his concerts or anything like that, I don't know. But yeah, that's where the song came from anyway.
Your reaction the first time hearing the song, Eddie?
Well, I didn't hear it until everything was produced. I think it was the first time I heard that.
So you're driving in, they're not actually blaring it in the background, correct?
What's that again? I don't hear it in the background at all. No, I didn't. No, that's all done afterwards. That's all in editing, post production stuff.
We've taken away some of the magic now, because we always assume that it actually is blaring as you're driving in. It is not.
There wasn't a deck or anything in the car that worked. So I wish there were, but no, there wasn't. No, that wasn't. No, unfortunately.
And it's a cool song when you hear the point of that song when it's playing, but you actually look at the lyrics. It's actually quite funny and quite Cyrus-ish if you actually think about it. I'm old, you're young.
Yeah. It's funny. I've been contacted by fans that use it actually as a ringtone, which is kind of wild. But yeah, it's certainly gained more popularity because of the show. That's for sure. Yeah.
I can certainly tell you, doing podcasting and, quoting you almost on a daily basis in side talks with friends and colleagues, because honestly, it had that kind of effect. I was saying to them one day, how cool it'd be to have a Cyrus podcast and have Cyrus in Cyrus talk. It's hilarious. You know the movie Happy Gilmore?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Okay. Shooter McGavin, right?
Yeah.
When he does his cameos, he doesn't do it as his name. He's Shooter McGavin. That's it. Everybody will always know him as Shooter, and that's okay.
Yeah. I've never been asked to do a cameo that I wasn't Cyrus. Yeah, no, everybody asked me to do it as Cyrus, and that's I guess a tribute to the character. And I think I've got a full 5-star rating. I've never gotten less than a 5-star rating from anybody, which is quite generous of them all.
Well,
I guess I made a lot of them happy with that, so that's kind of nice.
Well, you're certainly a professional as far as, you're always going to be working and, very diligent. And, I've read articles and interviews with you in the past talking about roles. And it seems you get into a role, you take that role on. You don't do anything half-assed. If you're in it, you're in it 100%.
Yeah, no question. I don't think you should do anything, half-assed. I think my dad instilled that in me, though. That was one of the good things that I've gotten from my dad is, I think he always said, drive it or park it. Yeah, I think everything you do, you should do it 100% or don't do it at all. I don't know what the point would be. Especially in that I think, as a grown up as an athlete or an entertainer or artist, I think you tend to be a bit of a perfectionist. As an athlete, you're always looking for an edge, and how can I be faster? How can I put more weight on? How can I be stronger? Whatever it is that you're lacking. What do you need in order to be there to get to that goal that you're striving for? And I think it's very true in many ways with artists or entertainers too. I think we're all kind of in that little perfectionist kind of bubble where we want to do it right. We want to make it as real as possible. And so yeah, I mean, I don't know anybody that doesn't do it, put 100% into it, but I'm certainly one of those guys that tries to do that as best I can. There's no doubt. No, but it doesn't matter what I do. I try to do it the best I can. I don't think there's any point. And I don't think there's any point in doing anything that's not 100% or putting your heart into it.
And
So
I think that's why people believe you as Cyrus. That's why they get mad at you, and they truly believe that that is a real person. That's a real character, and that shows you know how you portrayed it, and that's where I again you with your schedule and how I remember every week, 2 weeks, I'd say to my producer, I think this is the week we got Bernard. I think we're gonna tape it, and he writes back to me at Sunday night. He goes, "Hey, did you make it happen?" I said, bleep off, he had work to do.
yeah,
And he said, he actually has work to do. And that line actually holds. Who came up with that?
yes.
Who came up with the line, bleep off, I got work to do?
Uh, it wasn't in the script. I think it just said "fuck off." I got work to do when I was on the set.
So that was another ad lib that just took.
Yeah, I don't remember it being in this in there. I mean, I used "fuck" a lot during growing up in my neighborhood, so it doesn't surprise me at all. But I'm pretty sad I "fuck off." I got work to do. Yeah, yeah,
And so
yeah.
is there a giant poster in your house of you in a leather jacket with the gun saying, bleep off, I got work to do?
No, no. Actually, a few years ago, one of my fans did whew, I don't know, must be a 3 by 3 feet by 3 by 4 foot canvas of me and the Flappy Bird Brothers with the Uzis and the car in the background and me in my leather jacket.
Yeah.
It's unfortunately it's still back in back in Canada. I haven't gotten a chance to get it back. My daughter's going down. I don't know if she's there now or not, but I know she's going there to pick up all her stuff and grab whatever I've got left in the area and bringing it to Toronto. So yeah,
It'll find its way to your home
that's the
one
only
day.
thing, and I never hung that up. Honestly, it was a nice tribute, and but I don't think I could ever hang something like that up. I would be more apt to take that and auction it at a a benefit for underprivileged children or something.
That's nice.
Where that's probably what I would do. That's what's happened to a lot of the stuff that I had for the show.
And autograph it for sure.
Yeah, yeah, I would autograph it for sure, and but I would leave the gentleman that painted it, his name there for sure as well. Maybe I could just sign something on the back of it too. I don't know, but that's probably what I would do with it, and maybe I will still do that sometime down the road, just to if it brings some joy. I've signed other posters that we've had and auctioned them off as well, and they've always done well.
Are there any pieces of Cyrus memorabilia that you held on to?
I still have my jacket, the last jacket that I used, and I still have the last sunglasses that I use. I use those for the cameos, actually. I still have, I have a 9mm that I used to take on stage with me when I was traveling and doing stand up as Cyrus. I still have that. But for there might be a piece here and there, but it's small. I think I have the VIP tag for the red carpet for the for the last movie, maybe. But no, generally speaking, I don't keep that stuff. It's
How many jackets do you figure were in circulation? That's between all the episodes.
there were only 3. The first one auctioned off after season 5, along with the bullet belt and the Armani sunglasses. And
Jacket 2.
jacket 2 again auctioned off for a charity event in Alberta.
Nice.
A guy that owned like a Corvette bought it, actually. I signed the back of it so he could put it with the car. And Jacket 3 I have still,
Jacket 3.
so I probably won't get rid of that one. Yeah,
Still
I
working
mean,
on the cameos. Now,
yeah, I mean, I've been very fortunate with the cameos. I think I've done like 1,100 of them, I think, so far. A lot.
Goes to show you the fans love you, and the fans clamor for it. And that's where, again, with this episode, we want to give them as much Cyrus information as we can, because again, there's not enough of it in the internet that people want to know. So being in my mind an original, because you were in season 1, episode 1, what was the original plan for Cyrus? Do you know, like, how long they planned to keep him around originally? How many episodes? Or was it or what they planned is what they did?
I don't know. That's pretty much that would have been a Mike Clattenburg call, I would think, and the writers at the time, and the boys, the 3 boys. I think, and a lot of it was just like them, although they were back every year, even though they were in jail. But they did some stuff that was in jail. I think, with Cyrus, the crimes were, maybe it just suited to make sense that he was in there a little longer. I mean, season 1, 2, skip 3, 4, 5, skip 6 and 7, 8 and 9, skip 10, 11, 12, something like that. The three seasons of the animated series. I don't know, the one movie I think Reitman didn't want me involved in. They used a different guy for that. See, the second movie, I think I was in some of that, not sure how much. Never watched it. And the third movie, which I think was a bigger, more substantial role for sure. Not sure what happened with 1 and 2, first 2 movies. Just know that I'm in there somewhere.
I always felt that Cyrus was the perfect antagonist. Like, he was the perfect nemesis for the quote unquote main characters, and I've always felt that he should have been considered one of the main characters. Like, just the fit was perfect. It was there in the back of your mind, without stepping on toes. Did you think that he should have been more in there, or were you happy with the amount of appearances that Cyrus had relatively to the series?
I don't know. I think, it is what it is today. I mean, I think at the time, you'd like to think that they would use the character more. I think you're right that as an antagonist, he was perfect for the 3 boys. I think he could have been utilized more, but I don't know. I mean, I think that's all past, and I'm grateful for the time that they did bring me in. I mean, they could have shot and killed them off, and or kept them in jail forever. So, the mere fact that I think the character was, loved, even though he was hated, and that he, obviously those Cyrus episodes are, they generated a high rating. So, I'm grateful for that too. So, I can't really go back and say, I think, I mean, you always think that you'd like to be used more. I mean, but I don't make those decisions. They hired me initially. I beat out the other actor that Alliance Atlantis was looking to, use or wanted to use. I think those things in themselves speak volumes, and I'm good with that. I mean, people still call me Cyrus, so I mean, it's very difficult to kind of think that, it didn't leave an impact in some way or another. So, yeah, that's good enough for me. All the rest of the stuff is hearsay and hogwash, and it's negative energy, buddy.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
No, it's just more reminiscing and thinking of it. It's where it came to my mind. My 16-year-old son, he got into Trailer Park Boys, and it shows you how timeless this is, because this is many years later, and we started from season 1 and worked our way through. And that look of excitement when you were back in, after you were gone for a few episodes and now he's back, he's like, Cyrus is back. And he gives me a high five and he gets all excited. And this whole episode was born from one night when we were watching one of those episodes. And he looked at me and he said to me, Dad, you got to get Cyrus on the show. And I said, Cyrus is a pretty big deal, man. I don't know if we're going to get Cyrus. And I'm like, this is going to take a lot of work. But I told him, you know what? If we can have any Trailer Park Boy on this show, it's gonna be Cyrus. So that was, commending to you and your efforts, man.
Well, you thank your son for me.
Oh, he's actually asleep right now. It's when we film LA time versus Toronto time, we're past midnight here, but he will be very excited, certainly. Now, and maybe he'll even get a cameo one day. You never know.
Yeah, there you go.
Do you keep in touch with the other members of the cast? Are you guys like buddy at all, or
we don't talk very often? I mean, I've heard from them here and there. I mean, they're doing their own thing. I'm sure they're pretty busy with SwearNet and whatever other productions and things that they do. Just recently, I think I talked to Mike the last time. Maybe the boys were at a hockey game in Toronto, and a friend of mine, Rod Black, called me and said that they showed them in the stands, and he asked me to give them a call and see if they wanted to come to the alumni box, and so I did, and so they were escorted up to the alumni box, so that would have been fun for them, to hang out with some of the old Toronto Maple Leafs and the alumni box, and and Rod's a good guy.
So you're saying this now and you're inspiring me. It's funny when you're in acting and talent and I'm watching you, I'm thinking, why did they not make a Cyrus spin-off show? So we make a show, we call it Cyrus Jr., and the whole show is built around Cyrus's son. And now you're the dad, and he says about how his father's a prick, but you're actually still around, and hilarity ensues. I'm telling you, people would watch that.
That would be funny, wouldn't it? Yeah. I don't know how they do that. I think the character's probably owned by the three boys and the Trailer Park franchise. So I don't know how they would possibly get around that one.
If Guns N' Roses could get back together,
maybe the boys would sell the character off or something, or get involved in something like that. But I don't know. I think they've got enough on their plate. It's not easy to sell ideas out there these days. So, but I've heard many times about a Cyrus spinoff show and that it would be great. And I often think that it would. I mean, I tried to create The Adventures of Black Bart, and I think there's a 16-minute video on YouTube, maybe, that we shot a number of years ago now, and hoping that would, we might be able to do something with that. We had a lot of bites, but it didn't happen. So it's just and it's not really my genre to be going out there and hustling to produce or sell anything like that. I kind of like just doing what I'm doing, and rather than, I don't want to do the political stuff, and I'll leave that to the producers and the lawyers and entertainment lawyers that are out there hustling to do that. I want to be, I'm comfortable being in front of the camera, and maybe there's a time, maybe there'll be an opportunity down the road sometime where I might get a chance to direct something. I don't know, but I don't. That hasn't been something that I've sought after.
Well, just planting seeds. What can I tell you, my friend?
Planting seeds.
I put ideas out to the universe, and give me more Cyrus. That's all I'm asking for.
Maybe it'll happen. Who knows? I wouldn't say die. I wouldn't say no. That's for sure. So let's keep our fingers crossed. How about that?
Let's see what we can do. Looking back, do you have a favorite episode that sticks out in your mind? You're saying like this was one I really hit it, or one I really love. Like, is there any particular one?
I don't know. I think they were all pretty, pretty. I think they are all kind of pretty awesome in their own right. You know, first one was, you know, the introduction. I thought was that episode was great. I don't know. The school episode was good with me and Ricky. Season 5 is probably the best season of them all, really, with me and the Flappy Bird brothers. There was a lot going on there, and I think that was probably the most fun I had. Although I had fun with all of them, but I would think I think that's probably the one that stands out the most. Um,
What was the
yeah,
deal with the relationship with the brothers? Did you ever make heads or tails of it?
with the two Flappy Bird brothers.
Yes.
I don't know. I mean,
It's kind of
it was just,
ambiguous, right?
yeah. It was they were fun to work with. That's for
Yes.
sure. They were friends with Mike Clattenburg as well. I haven't seen Mio Nobu since. To be honest, I know they live in Toronto, but I haven't seen them since. So it's a long time, long time.
Well, if they're watching this, I'll tell them hit subscribe, write some comments, and we'll connect everybody. So please, if
Yeah,
you're watching this, share it.
yeah.
Uh, any challenges in taping? So the shootouts obviously were real shootouts. They looked like they were, but did you find, was there any risks, issues in any of the particular tapings?
I think when you're using any kind of live blank, I think there's always issues, as we've just recently found out, with what happened with Alec Baldwin. So the choreography needs to be spread out a little bit. So it becomes a little trickier, I would think, for the cameramans and A and B camera to tighten that up to make it look like it's happening, within something that would make sense and not, blocks away or anything, which is kind of what happens. I mean, you're quite a ways away when you're shooting. I think it's 9 or 12 feet that the gases from a 9 millimeter extend. I've got a picture of that was taken during season 5 where the camera caught the blast of the muzzle off the muzzles. So there's actually, you see the fire coming off
Wow.
a couple of feet off of the muzzle, which was pretty cool. I don't use that one very often for anything. It's a little bit more obscure than the other ones that I tend to use or sign in my autographs. But yeah, it's not. It's kind of dangerous. So I would think that that's it's the biggest trick, I would think, is be for the camera and gun wranglers and everything else to kind of choreograph that to make sure that it's safe for everybody to be around.
Because it looked pretty
Uh,
authentic. Like when we were watching those shootouts, I remember the scene with when one or two guys were up on the roof and everybody shooting at each other. It looked,
yeah,
it was pretty
yeah,
intense.
that's it. That definitely looks. Yeah, it definitely looks real. I'm not sure how much of that they're using anymore as far as live rounds with regard to blanks, as opposed to CG stuff where they can, I know when I was shooting Haven, that was all CG, even though they shot everything on a dolly. It wasn't done with Haven wasn't shot with anything that was with digital camera. It was all shot with live film.
That
And they CG'd the shots, the gunfire and that kind of stuff. All that stuff was all edited in afterwards. So I actually just pointed the gun and said bang, and they just edit your voice saying bang out of there, and yeah, it's crazy what they can do now.
when we're watching at the time like a 30-second shootout, how long does it take to actually film something like that?
All day.
All day, eh? For 30 seconds.
I think that whole gun scene. I think we shot for. I think that day was like a 10-hour day. And I would say that 2 hours was just, the action part of, delivering lines before the gunfight. The gun scenes, I think, took better part of 6 to 8 hours to shoot all that.
Amazing.
Yeah, it takes a long time. Yeah.
And that always blew my mind in TV and movie film work. It's you're watching this final product, you're thinking, wow, like it's the greatest 1 minute I've watched. That could have taken 1 or 2 days to do to get it just right.
Yeah, I have no doubt in my mind that, in some of these action movies and stuff, that's exactly what's happening. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
knowing what you know today, and you've probably been asked this question also like 1,000 times, but I'm gonna ask it for 1,001. If you can go back to Cyrus from day one, to Bernard Robichaud starting off on the show, knowing what you know today, what advice would you give your younger self?
I wouldn't have changed anything. I I, I think the choices that I made are speak for themselves. I don't actually. That's why one of the reasons I don't watch myself on TV or film. You know, they hire you for a reason, and because you made choices in your audition that made them want you to be part of the project. And I think that you live with your choices. And if you start second guessing those choices, then maybe you're in the wrong business. I think going back and looking at anything like that, the choices that you made at the time, you have 3 or 4 or 5 takes sometimes, and you know you tried a little bit different every time you did it, and they edited it the way they wanted it to. Maybe they chopped one line and used it part of another line in order to make it all the way they liked it, and what the final result is what's there. So when they say that, check the gate or moving on, I'm good. I guess they got what they wanted, and I don't like look back at that and think, oh gee, I could have done that something different. Maybe, but can you not deliver a line anyway, 1,000 different ways possibly? So I don't want to spend the entire day there either. So I think I made the choices I did, and yeah, like I said, I think they speak for themselves. I never go back and look at that and say, oh darn. I think that happened to me the first job I ever had when I did Night Heat, and I invited all my friends over, and we had, you know,
Like a watch party?
yeah, I had a bunch of buddies over, friends over to watch my first role on TV, and we had the beer going, we had a couple of joints going, and we're all sitting around watching, waiting for it. And geez, the first time I saw myself and heard myself, I thought, this is never going to happen again. I was so like distraught by the whole thing and how I sounded and how they edited it, and it wasn't anything that I imagined. And I thought, I'm never doing that again, and definitely not inviting anybody over to watch me. That's for damn sure. So, and as kind of the guy I am, I stuck to my word. That's exactly what I've done my entire career. Even when I've gone to red carpets, I look at the floor and try not to listen to myself when I have to go to those things, and I don't watch myself. Um,
And I could see
Other people,
Cyrus doing the same thing, based on his personality. I don't think he'd watch himself either on camera. So
probably not.
no.
Probably not.
So
Yeah.
when we reflect today in the year 2022, what would you say at the end of the day is the legacy of Cyrus when you reflect on him?
Hmm.
Modern day Fonz?
I think everybody's always said that. Um, I don't know. There's been a lot. There's been the Fonz, and there's been some people think he's the best bad guy that's never been on stage. I don't know if that's the case. I mean, there's some great bad guys out there. Maybe not with comedy. I don't know. Uh, you know,
Maybe he made cool great again.
maybe. I like to think that I just brought some smiles to some people's faces and maybe help them through some tough times that they were going through, maybe at the same time. And if that's what Cyrus did, then I'm happy with that.
You know, it's so humbling, you know, the way you approach it. And in my mind, I think, you know, your fans watching this will say, you don't realize the impact you made on us. Like you are modest, my friend, and you put a lot of greatness into that character, and that character touched a lot of lives. And so we thank you for that.
Yeah, I'm grateful, man. Yeah, it's been a humbling experience being able to be part of that, and doing that for people. Don't think it goes. Don't think it's been slighted by me in any way. That's means a lot.
It was an unbelievable feeling to drive down by the waterfront one weekend to see that red Corvette, to actually send it to Cyrus, ask him his opinion. Is that the car? Like, it's mind blowing. Like, not many people get to do that. That's me living my chosen life. So pretty damn cool.
It's pretty cool, man. It was a pleasure being able to, to answer you when you sent me the text. So there you go.
That's true. I get to message Cyrus on weekends, folks.
Yeah, you got my number.
So that being said, now aside from cameos, you said you've done some stand up as Cyrus. Are you otherwise living the Cyrus life otherwise?
No, no, no. I was happy when that all ended. Yeah, no, I don't think I'd want to do that again. I don't really like living out of a suitcase unless that's absolutely necessary, and I don't really want to live out of a suitcase every night from town to town to town to town. I would, if there was, appearances or something like that, I would do those for sure. But I don't want to go there and try to make people laugh, and you don't know whether or not they're gonna, how they're gonna react one night from the next. It's very tough. My hat goes off to anybody who's chosen the road to be a comedian. I've got some friends of mine that do it, and they're quite good at it. And I'm gonna leave that to those guys. Um, I'm okay with doing what I do, and I'll leave the comedy work to them. And if I just don't know how to get up there, I've had some great material, and I've had some good nights. I think most of it is really just the traveling and the night after night after night and trying new bits and seeing if it works and seeing if they bomb. And I'm always been a little bit more spontaneous when it comes to my comedy, and it's really kind of been reflected from lines that have been delivered to me, and I react from those, and that's where my comedy comes from, and not necessarily because I'm standing up there delivering lines that are on a bunch of lines that I've worked into an entire evening of comedy, regardless of what I've written, or had other friends of mine who are comics help me write, which is where it all that comedy came from. Um, and it's a lot of work, and the jokes, comedy, it's always changing. You know um, there's always a better way, a little better way, a little better a word, better verb, little tiny things that'll just make the joke the best in many ways. So if you got a long bit, sometimes it can take days to write it, and have it just tweaked right, and then you go back and read it and you say, oh no, I want to change that again. Oh, that's funnier this way. So it's just a never-ending writing thing, and I don't have I honestly, I don't want to spend the time on constantly writing and rewriting, and then going on stage night after night after night like these guys do, and work their magic. It's not an easy route to take, but the guys that are good at it, they really know how to handle all that, and I don't think that's for me.
So creatively, artistically, looking towards the future, what type of roles do excite you? If you had your preference as far as phone ringing, what would you like to do from an acting or any other standpoint?
Oh, I think I would still take anything that came along. I just finished doing voiceover for a new animated series called Hazley. As a producer in Los Angeles, she has got 3 projects on the go that I'm involved with. One is called The New. That's an apocalyptic sci-fi series. There's some people producers from Australia that are interested in shooting it there, and there's another from a book she wrote called Marissa Romanoff, and it's another sci-fi kind of thing. So we'll see what happens with those. I just had a big audition in Toronto a few weeks ago, and I'm up for that role. It's a 6-part miniseries, and that's all I can tell you about that one right now. It's no more in a few weeks, but yeah, they're in negotiations, and I got a lot going on right now in order to try to make that work.
Well, fingers crossed, my friend. And for the record, next time you're in Toronto, hit me up. Steak dinners are on me.
Okay, well, I'll be there 22nd of August.
Okay, I leave August open. I'll be seeing you then.
Leave August open. Look for that steak dinner, bro.
Amazing. We'll be dining it up. Probably
All
Michael's,
right.
if you heard of it. It's a great restaurant. So
Yeah, I
that's
have heard of Michael's. Yeah, I've
okay.
never
So
been there, but I've heard of it. Yeah.
okay,
Yeah,
so
sounds good.
if you're all dining in August and Michael's, you'll probably be seeing Cyrus and the Chosen Lawyer. So
Yeah, okay.
Bernard,
right.
thank you so much for today, taking the time out of your busy schedule. Honestly, it was worth the wait, and you're a gentleman to the extreme. So thank you for doing this.
Yeah, it's my pleasure, man. Thank you. Yeah, it
Final
really is.
and final
Wasn't for
last
guys
words.
like you, I'd be nobody, right?
What's that?
I said if it wasn't for you guys like you and my fans, I'd be nobody. So so thank you. That's I appreciate it.
It's one of those things that I sometimes in art that you have like the perfect painting and not enough people appreciate it. Like it takes the right person to appreciate art, and your fans appreciate your art, my friend. So may there be more of your art out there.
I appreciate that, Jonathan. Thank you very much, man. It means a lot.
Thank you. And as we sign off on the Chosen Life, we do this flex, if you don't mind. And we say, look at those arms. Keep living the chosen life.
Keep living the chosen life.
Thanks, brother.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Talk soon. Thanks.
Talk soon, bye. Okay, bye.